Very Last Life, Chapter 26, Young Man with Hammer. So I rediscovered an old pop song. I'm always doing that. I do it every day. I do this song. It's nostalgia, right? When you're an old dude, it's all about nostalgia. It's all about the music of the past. It's all about, the music the music you listen to, the music of your life is it happens when you're beginning adult life. It happens when you're a teenager, basically teenager, and then into maybe up to 25, say 15 to 25. That's when you discover and love music most. And it's a lot, often also for literature, by the way. The early college years are the literature years where you discover, the Naked Lunch and, maybe Holden Caulfield or something, or some weird kind of psychedelic, weird rebellious alternative lifestyle literature that you love and you read in paperbacks that have been thumbed through by many other students before you, and which is very cool and beautiful, and you discover these things, and it turns on your life and in another direction. You're discovering a new life, right? And you're discovering a new life. You need a soundtrack to this. You need the literature for it. You need the books. You need the movies. You need the pop songs. And one of my pop songs was Total Eclipse of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler. Total Eclipse of the Heart. With that funky, MTV video, which was good. It was good. It was back then. It was really good. And the reason this was so important for me was that one night, and it must have been 83. Maybe it was 82, 83, December 83, I came to Germany. So it was before that. It was after my mission. I had returned to Hawaii after serving a mission for the Mormon Church here in Germany, in the Düsseldorf mission, in 5 cities in the Düsseldorf region around there. And I returned, gone to university, studied linguistics and English literature, and was preparing to return. And I was, earning as much money as I could in crappy jobs, trying to return to Germany to study German literature, medieval German literature, and to marry the woman I was in love with. And I was doing all that, and that was this big project. And one night I was driving home, and I guess it was Dad's car, right? Or was I driving home? I think I was driving. In my memory, this is unsure. In my memory, I was driving home from college. It was either BYU on the North Shore in Laia, or it was University of Hawaii. My last semester of college in the U.S. was at the University of Hawaii, which is Manoa campus. So it's another direction. You go through Honolulu. So you would be going if I was coming from University of Hawaii, Manoa campus, I would be traveling through Honolulu and getting on the highway, and I'd be on the highway. And if I were driving from BYU Hawaii campus, which was the Hawaii campus of the Brigham Young University, the Mormon, university. I studied 3 semesters there, and then I went for the last one, my 4th semester to University of Hawaii. And then that would have been down this kind of road that cuts right across the island of Oahu. The island of Oahu passed through sugarcane and pineapple fields, red dirt fields, to Mililani, where my parents were living at that point. They had left Kailua and they were living in Mililani. So when I returned from my mission from Germany, I no longer had contact with my, home in Kailua, and I went straight to Mililani and stayed in my parents' home. When you're an adult and you're supposed to not be living in the house with your parents, then you're living in your parents' home. When you're a kid, you're living in your home, right? It's a family home. You say, at home. I was home. I was at my home. But when you're supposed to be out, moving out, and you're in some kind of a, phase between apartments, between, college and getting your own apartment or job or whatever, there's this phase, right? And then you come back home and you stay home and your old room is there or another room is there or a guest room is there, and mom, dad says, they say, you can stay as long as you want, son. But of course, you're a guest. They wouldn't say, you don't say that, if you're mom and dad, you don't say it to your 5-year-old kid, you can stay as long as you want, right? You say that to the adult kid whose stay is going to be temporary, they assume. They hope. They're hoping. They've already said goodbye. They when you realize when you're in high school, you're growing, you're heading toward 18, heading toward adulthood, toward college, or getting a job, or both, and mom and dad, they're already getting empty nest syndrome. So they're already getting to the idea that the son, the little boy, is moving out and is going to be, and so they have their home back to themselves, and then all of a sudden, at some point, probably even before you actually leave home, it clicks in their minds, and you are a guest. You are no longer the family. You're a guest. And that was, it was fine. I had, my own key. I could, come and go it was okay. I didn't have to, say Mr. Hansen, Mrs. Hansen. It wasn't like that, but it was. Maybe I didn't even realize it then, but I was a guest. So I was coming home late that night in my father's car. I've never owned a car of my own, strangely, for an American. And it was night. It was late night. The sky was clear and the highway was fairly empty. And I pushed on the gas and I felt that power surge through the engine. You're a boy in a car. You feel that power. And that power speaks to you. It's that I don't know how it is with women, with girls. I assume it is. I assume girls have some kind of relationship to power. They feel power because human life is power. But with boys, it's often in a car. You turn on that gas and you feel this machine that you're in control of. You for a while at least, until you lose control, you're in control of it, right? So you're in control of this machine, and it does what you have this power. Its power is your power. It is a continuance of your power. And in that night, that dark, clear, starry night in Hawaii, with this clear Hawaii heaven above you, barreling down that highway. And then this song came on the radio, Total Eclipse of the Heart. And it's this big bombastic song, this operatic song. It's rock opera, and it really was written for a rock opera. It's Jim Steinman, right, who wrote the songs for Meatloaf, things maybe in the rear, maybe larger than life in the rear view, Bat Out of Hell. What was this this great, funny, weird, operatic Jim Steinman song that Meatloaf sang? I'll do anything for you, but I won't do that. And people make fun of it. What is it? What he won't do? What would he won't do? Is it? What kind of sexual position will he not do? And of course, in the song, it's not a mystery. The song says, I won't do that. Will you cheat on me? No, that's the one thing I won't do. I won't leave you. I'll do everything for you, but I won't do that. I won't cheat on you. So that's in the song. It's not a mystery. You don't have to ask yourself, what is that one thing you won't do? But of course, it's funny to ask that question. What is the one thing you won't do? What sexual position won't he do? And it's like. And I think it's funny because, it's when it was sexual relationship, it's the woman who always has this one thing she won't do. Theoretically, the guy will do anything and wants to do anything, right? That's the role of the man in a sexual relationship, wants to do everything all the time. And the woman, there's this one thing she won't do. And of course, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. That one thing, it's very flexible what that one thing is. Really, for most women, it's, like she won't do anything, but she'll say she'll do everything, but that one thing. But then when you ask her to do that anything, whatever it is you ask her, that's the one thing she won't do. It's just, it depends on the circumstance. Whatever it is you want to do, that's the one thing that turns out that, she won't do. So, okay, anyway, that's the joke about sexual. That's how we men approach sexual relationships. We, it's always, we're always on the, the beggar end of the stick, always asking for something that we cannot have. And the woman is always in control because she has the no, she has the power of the no. And that's the great equalizer. That's the canon, the no. She can say no. Men cannot say no, but she can say no. And that is the power in a sexual relationship for most men, at least a traditional, teenagey kind of sexual relationship. But let's be honest, it's, a grown-up relationship too. It's the same thing. There's this joke. What is this joke? I think it's even in a Jewish. Oh no, it's a Jewish joke. It's a Jewish friend of me told you. What is a? You want to hear? What is it? Oh yes, this is it. And you could say this about any culture, any religion. It doesn't have to be Jewish, but no, I'm confusing these jokes. Hold on. It's not a great Jewish wine. What is it? Oh, what is foreplay in Jewish? What is for a Jew? What is foreplay for a Jew? And then, of course, you could say that about Catholics or Protestants. But I heard it from a Jewish guy, and it's Jewish humor, probably because the Jews are willing to make jokes about this. What is foreplay for a Jew? An hour of begging. I think that's funny. And although I'm not Jewish, that's a realistic part of my life. I think it's a really realistic part of most men's lives. Anyway, okay, so I've gotten away from that night. In a sexual relationship, men do not feel power. But in a car, you feel power. You step on the gas and the car does what you want. And it can do what you want it to do. It can do it, and it does it, and it picks up. You feel the lift and the and I was barreling down that highway with this song blasting. I turned it up, blasting on the radio. And I'm not a rock guy, and I don't even know if that's rock, if that's considered rock and roll, really. Total eclipse of the heart. It's so poppy. So popish, so pop. It's pop, But it's Jim Steinman, and let me say, Jim Steinman. The great thing about this song is that he really did write it for a rock opera. He was working on a rock opera about vampires. It's a vampire song. It's a vampire rock, and total eclipse of the heart. What does she say? She says, whatever is it, if you imagine what she's saying, I don't even know what the lyrics are anymore, even though I've been listening to it for the last half hour. I discovered it again, put it on, whatever streaming service here, and I put it on, and it was going through on and on repeat, on auto repeat, and I listened to it again and again, and I still can't say the lyrics, but you can imagine these lyrics spoken by a vampire, all the darkness and the, and the lostness and the yearning for love and the need for love and all the big lostness of life. It's all in this song. It's such a great song, and you can imagine a vampire singing it, and of course you can imagine a woman singing it. You can imagine a man singing it. I could imagine on that night on that highway. I guess it was a highway. I keep trying to imagine that it was a coastal road, but it wouldn't have been a coastal road. I was living in Mililani, which is in the middle of the island at that time, so it was a highway. And it was this big, blasty, booming song. Very melodramatic. And in that moment, I saw all of my life coming down upon me. I had this project of getting out of Hawaii, getting out of America, getting out of my family life, getting out of my childhood, my helpless, your little boy childhood, and going to Europe to be an intellectual, going to Europe to study, going for love. Love is a big project. When a man falls in love, Maybe there are men who calculate love, but I think most men are really trapped and captured by love and give all to love and are willing to go out and kill for love. I think men in love men I think don't talk about it much because it's so goofy. And you lose control when you're in love, of course. You have all these ambitions, and then you fall in love, and then you're completely sidetracked, and you have no control over your life. Of course, you never really had control over your life, but you have less control when you're in love. But I think, in my experience, men really give all to love. I don't know if women do that. I guess they do. Women can go crazy for love. I mean, love makes us all go crazy. There's a neurological thing, love that, the hormones make you act like similar to the way a crazy person acts. There are studies, people look into it and they say, yes, when you're in love, the hormones make you, act like a crazy person. Similar things happen in your brain that happen to crazy people. Okay, so women do it too, but I'm not a woman. I'm a man, and my experience has been when you're in love as a man, you give all to love. It's even frightening, and it's big. And I was in love with a young woman in Germany, and she was waiting for me, and I wrote, 3 or 4 letters. It was letters back then, no email, letters. This was 80. It was 83. It must have been 83, shortly before I left. I left in December 83. So this was before email, and I wrote her letters, once a week. I'm sorry, not once a week, like 3 or 4 times a week. It would really, and we would have the money to call like once a month or maybe it was more than once a month. Maybe I got a call once a week, but we really had to watch that dial. It was expensive, and I had to pay for the calls, and she had to pay for her calls. It was a lot of money. It was expensive back then. Man, it's so easy today. Man, incredible. And it was this big, huge thing that we had to move. We were moving the world. She was not a neighbor. I had to move heaven and earth to get there. I had to get out of Germany, out of Hawaii. That's a flight. That's legal complications with a passport. I had to get to I have to get permission to live in that country and work in that country. I had to get there without any job. I had to save up money in order to have a cushion to get there. The first couple of months, the first half a year, I think I had enough money to get there for like 2 or 3 months or something when I got there. And I had to get a job immediately. I had to, start college where I hardly spoke the language. I only spoke missionary German, which is like it's okay, but it's not really fluent German. But I had to live in this strange country and then marry and start a family. I didn't start a family. I started a relationship, a marriage, which is, big in itself. So it was like 100 big projects, 100 larger than life projects come down into one thing. And I guess I was, 21. Well, no, I wasn't 83. 83, I would have been, 83, end of 83, I was, of course, 23. So there's the age. I figured it out, the math. But I was still a kid. And all these things came down to all these things, the earning money, the complication, how to do it, the risk of going there, the risk of marrying a person from another culture, the risk of living and trying to get a life in a place where I had no experience. And there I was driving down this road, and total eclipse of the heart came out, and and tears came to my eyes, and I saw all of life coming down upon me. All of life. It was this big, huge thing. I could see it. Just stretched out in front of me. It was palpable. It was tangible. It was a thing you could touch. And there are moments in life where you have that. It wasn't the only moment in my life, and everyone has those moments where you see life. You have moments where you live life and you're bored by life and you got to sleep and you're tired and you work and you got to, you have worries. But there is these moments where you see all of life and you can grasp it and you have it like a big black, platinum, heavier than black hole basketball in your hands, and you're holding it just for that moment, and it's your life. And I held it in that moment. I held it in my hands. And then suddenly it was there. It was every moment I experienced as one moment after the other, and one moment could not come fast enough. But looking back, it was a steamroller that just rolled over me, finishing my job, the last paycheck, going to the airport, saying goodbye, my brother giving me money, my brother who I always fought with every minute of the day, hugging me, and he gave me money. I think like $100. Wow, I think my dad gave me money too, and then I was off. I was gone, and then looking for a job and an apartment in this strange place, and the marriage, and just all this incredible new weird stuff just rolled like it was a steamroller. It just wham, life, wham. I think we all have these things, and I've said this before. I think there's a way of looking at life. You can, like in chapters, like this whole, this very last life. The concept of this whole podcast and the life I'm living now is the very last life is that I have 6 lives that I've lived, and this is life number 7, the last one, the next 20 years. Okay, so, and coming to Germany. Love, true love, big love in a big way, love that you would give everything to. That's one of the big things, the big projects of mine. Coming to Germany, trading places, a new culture, a new country, studying this country, learning this culture. That was a big thing. Big projects, big, great things that happen. I think that's how that's one way. I think that's the way, that's the way I look at my life. I put it into chapters. Hawaii, love, Germany, learning to be a writer, be journalist, novelist. These chapters, these big things. You have a dream when you're a kid, and then it slowly becomes more concrete, and it changes, and you start to make a plan, and you wonder to yourself, can I do it? Can I not do it? Is it going to work? Do I have I'm just some kid, some skinny, 4-eyed kid in Hawaii. I can't do this. I can't move to Europe and become a writer. I can't, true love, big love is not for me. I can't do this. But then you start to have the guts to do it. And you make the plan, and it becomes more concrete, and then you think, oh my God, I'm really going to do it. I'm going to take this step. I'm going to make the move. I'm going to do it. And then you do it. And you do that, and it changes everything. Everything is different because you walk into a new world, and you're a new person, and you rise to the occasion. You discover that you have much more power in you than you think. This experience of power in you. There we go. And now we're coming back to the title. I wrote it down. Young Man with Hammer. At some point when you reach puberty and you become a young man, and it's probably the same with women, I would think so. You feel the power. And it has something to do with sex, I think. You feel the sexual power, and it is a power. It's a power to create life. There is no greater power. That's, we take it for granted, but the power to create life, that's huge. That's godlike. It's big. And it's this power that is given to you when you're like 13 years old. I don't know whose idea was to give the power to create life to a 13-year-old. That could have been a mistake. That could have been, God may be up there thinking, I don't know, did I get that age right? I don't know. That seems kind of young now that I look back. It seems kind of young, but it is. It's this great power. You have this power, and on that road that night, stepping on the gas and the car hurtling through space and time, that's power. You feel this power. And it's a power that only a human being has. You're a young man and you grow up, and for a time you're like everything else. You're like nature. Nature, you know, grows and flourishes and blooms and blossoms and becomes green, and and dinosaurs wandering on a saber-toothed tiger, and then everything is it's nature, right? And then a comet comes, and then nature's gone, and then nature regrows again, comes back again, and there's all kinds of evolution, things going on, and creatures going from cells and amoebas to complex beings, and then a young man grows up and he feels the strength in his body, and it's not much strength. He always feels weak because he is weak. He doesn't have claws. He doesn't have sharp teeth. He can't run very fast. He's not a lion. He's not a gorilla. He's not a shark. But you give him a hammer. Give him that hammer. And he can pound with that hammer, and he bangs on something, and he bangs on it, and he bangs on it until it breaks. And that's power. And every kid has it. Every young man. You grow up, you're 15, you have a little bit of muscle or not, you're an awkward body, you don't know what you're doing with your life, you're lost, you have these dreams, but most of it is unrealistic, you're stupid, you're a stupid, clumsy, helpless, awkward kid. But you have a hammer in your hand, and you can bang on something until it breaks. And all of mankind is like that. Billions of kids out there growing up, learning about the power they have, and that changes everything. And suddenly you're not in a world of, with dinosaurs who they have a lot of power. Dinosaurs, of course, were more powerful than, a human being, but they don't have that hammer. They don't bang on something. They eat something. They eat, they go and they eat the grass. They eat the leaves. They eat each other, but they don't bang on something until it breaks. They don't do that. They don't destroy and create. But we do that. That teenage kid, he has the power. He has the power of God right there. And he's just a kid. And there are 7 billion of us, kids with hammers in our hands, creating and destroying little gods, trapped in this little world of unsuspecting nature. Nature didn't see us coming. Nature never suspected that we would be, even as we grew up and became, went through the various centuries. Nature didn't see us coming. But there we are. Young men and young women with hammers in our hands. That was that moment. Maybe my first moment of feeling that hammer in that car with total eclipse of the heart, loud on the radio. And the only thing I regretted was that I couldn't put it on auto repeat, I couldn't, it wasn't, it was the radio back then. That was the dark ages radio. I couldn't put it on auto repeat. I would have gotten home on that highway, put it on auto repeat, and gone back again, driven back and forth on that highway all night, listening to the one song over and over again. There's these moments in life where you feel all of life and you can touch it, and that was that moment. That was one of those moments. Maybe it was the moment. I don't know. And then it happened, The thing is, I didn't know it then. I was looking at life. I held it in my hands. I saw it. I felt it. Not in its detail, not exactly how would happen, what would happen, but I felt that the ambition I had and the plans I had and the things I was going to do, that it would create something, that some of it would happen. I felt that, the plane wouldn't crash and my life wouldn't end when I was, 23. I felt that, I wouldn't, come back with my tail between my legs, when I was 24 and say, I failed and I have to move in with my parents and live with mom and dad for the rest of my life. I felt that I wouldn't, go crazy or have some kind of disease and have to spend the rest of my life in the hospital. I felt that something more or less, this going to Europe, trying to be a writer, being, falling in love and being in love and giving all to love and doing these things, these big projects, these larger than life projects, is for a boy of a young little kid of 23, right? I still think of myself as a young little kid, and I thought of myself as a young little kid when I was 23. Of course I wasn't. But the project I was doing was larger than life, was bigger than me. And I felt it. I felt that it was really going to happen. I could see it. In that moment, I saw life. And you have those moments where you're sitting there and you see all of life. You see it all. And it really happens. Life really happens. Not in the details that you imagine, but it's really there. That big, concrete black ball that you're holding in your hand, that black hole that could turn out to be anything. It's real. It's really there. And then it happens. And then you come out the other end and you look back and you say, oh my God, that night on that road to Mililani, total eclipse of the heart, blaring on the radio, I saw it all. And then it happened. And it really happened. That's it, folks. And thanks for listening. Tune in again next week or tomorrow or whenever it is I do this again. Whatever, I don't know. If you're interested in the things that are really important to me, I write them in books and I put them on videos. Check out my books on Amazon.com or my YouTube channel or my Twitter and Facebook feeds, or subscribe to my newsletter. It's kind of a lot now that I say it like that. Or any of the above, whatever. I hope I can contribute something to your life or to someone's life, anyone's life really, in some way. I appreciate your support, and I wish you all the luck and success and happiness and fulfillment in your life. Take care till next time.